Welcome to Ashoka podcast, which is entitled, Why Should I Even Care? And today we have a special guest. We have Nelson Olanipekun, who's the founder of Citizens.gov. And Nelson, tell me, why should I even care about equal access to justice for people with migration background?
Oh, okay. Thank you for having me in the studio, and it's really nice to be here. I'm going to give you a couple of points why you should care. For example, in the UK, I'm going to start with the education sector. Migrants, international students contribute between 35 to over 40 billion pounds to the UK university, to the larger economy in the UK. That's enough to be a budget of countries across the globe. A significant number of people that power the National Health Service in the UK and I know across Europe are people with migrant backgrounds. A significant number of people that power the trade, the informal sector. You see people with Asian backgrounds, people with Black backgrounds taking on different trade. The people that are driving the cabs around the streets, providing the logistics services, people that drive the ride hailing and different food hailing services that we love to hit. These are the people that power the system. So why shouldn't these people get justice in a system where they contribute this much into? I think it's just fair.
So your argument would be that, we should care because it's fair, right? Well, but there are lots of unfair things happening in the world. Is there any more practical explanation than fair?
Yeah, I think beyond the component of fair, there are also legal provisions, international requirements, conventions that countries have signed up require you as a country to provide justice and support to migrant people. And if migrants come into your own country and they are unable to have access to justice. I know Europe prides itself as a just continent. Majority of the landmark justice related, for example, Netherlands owns houses the world courts and many courts like that. And many other things, the Magna Carta Convention, and many other things they are linked to Europe. So I believe that if for a continent that is real, that prides itself as a just fair, you need to practice what you preach.
Right. I think this is actually a pretty good argument. But then I also have another question. So maybe the concept of access to justice is not that easy. If I think practically what access to justice means, could you explain it? Like, what is access to justice in terms of like everyday experience?
Okay, so access to justice is, I'll refer to through a story. So my wife supports the National Health Service in the UK. She works within that sector. And some time ago, she was short paid at work. It's a significant short pay, almost half of her salary. And you know how the system works. Once you get a major short pay, it kind of creates a ripple effect. You can't meet this month's bills. It's difficult for the next month for you, and that ripple effect goes on. And it took a while. It's because with my legal background, I could push hard, against the system, and that prevents us from, going down that spiral. Imagine that someone gets it really hard, assuming a person that really got it really hard, the person got terminated at work, and that leads to homelessness and all that. And maybe the termination at work was not was in no fault of his. And that on a good day leads to so many things. If it's a family, if it's a family, those people can end up on the streets. That's injustice. But by putting justice is a stopgap from putting them on the streets. And it helps them to be able to be a normal human being and contribute to that society.
Being Polish, we actually complain a lot about our justice system, especially about how slow it is. Lots of things that, even small things like parking tickets would take years and years. And I understand that access to justice system, it's kind of it has lots of, there may be many reasons why people don't have access to it. One could be because I don't speak the language, or because simply I'm being...
affordability.
Yeah, because I cannot afford it, right? Or because somebody's ignoring me because I'm not a citizen.
Yeah,
that's
happen. Correct.
That could happen as well, right? But there could be also this other side of access, which is the system might not intentionally ignore me or not be interested in my case. It's just not an effective system.
It's an unconscious inefficiency.
Exactly.
Sort of. And that is why I've been committed to creating a faster pace of justice delivery system. And that's what I've been doing for almost a decade now. I'm seeing how we could specifically leverage technology to create that. So, for example, in terms of language barrier, there are tools that could help to manage that, improve language communication between two people that don't understand each other. We recently created an AI. It's called Produce AI. So, for example, in the UK, we trained it with over 25,000 judicial precedents. And what that means is court cases that have already been decided, we trained it with the AI with it, and also laws. And we're looking at, okay, how can we also expand across Europe? And what that means is, if you've got an issue, and let's say at that moment you just want to know how best you can resolve that, the AI empowers you with the information because we've trained it with necessary legal documents. It empowers you with the information, and it could also further help you generate the legal document. Let's say a petition, for example, citing the laws that empowers you to do that or that protects you. And the other layer is that, so if that does not resolve your situation, there's a second layer which we've built into it. We call it Uber for Justice. And what does that mean? We connect you with a lawyer within that location that can provide the support for you. So we tried that out in my home country, Nigeria. We're trying that out in the UK, and we're looking at expanding it across Europe. So if the first layer does not resolve your issue, the second layer gets to help you out. And the beautiful thing about this model is that you can do it via social media. You don't need to download an app to do it. So we power it through WhatsApp. So you can get the whole conversation going, get started via WhatsApp. So it makes it easy. The other thing is that language barrier, easily you can have a conversation with the AI in your own language. So it can move between, let's say, Polish and English for you. So I'm a migrant in Poland, for example. I don't really understand Polish. So how can I get access to the legal system in Poland? The other thing is also you can connect you with a Polish lawyer, even if I don't know anyone here. I'm a migrant. So those are some of the things that can help you accelerate your pace of justice delivery, because all these things understand the quick fixes that you could leverage. So, for example, you could leverage the ombudsman system. There are many quasi-judicial alternative dispute resolution mechanisms that countries have created that locals might know about it, or people that are lawyers might know about it, but someone that is not too familiar with the legal landscape might not know about it. So all these tools will make it a lot easier for you to just get access. So you don't necessarily have to go through the court system because it might be slow, but you could go through the alternative dispute resolution system. It makes it a lot faster, and you get justice. You get yourself protected from whatsoever injustice you might be experiencing.
This is fascinating. So I suppose lawyers will not be happy.
Yeah, so the way we're looking at it is not taking away lawyers' job. It's on the contrary, it's enabling it, because an average person, even if you use the AI component to empower yourself, you could further connect to a lawyer on the same platform. So you still have that lawyer build up in it. Also is the component that beyond even the lawyer, the lawyers themselves can use it to get quick direction to where the legal resources are, or get the initial draft of a document.
This is fascinating. So I understand that one way to make the access to justice system more equitable is using technology. Actually, you made me realize I have an uncle who speaks Romani, and for many, many years he was a translator for the police. When Roma people got in trouble, they would call him, and I guess now you don't need that. He can actually do what he loves doing most, which is translating Romani poetry, and not really translate those cases. But I'm thinking, so let's say that I understand this is a part of what you do as your job, right? Can you tell us a bit more about what you and your organization do to make this access to justice for people with migration background more equitable and fair?
Yeah, so besides the tech tool that I had mentioned, which we are heavily reliant on, because we feel that it's easier for us to scale with tech than with physical presence across countries. So we're heavily reliant on the tech tool, training the AI model with different laws of country. So, and also the cultural and the language issues, breaking that down with this AI model, and also making it easier for the young demography, because young demography are facing different emerging issues. So, for example, one issue that I've seen on the increase now is sextortion-related issues. So that's maybe you're conversing with someone you met on social media, and sometimes young people might share nudes with each other, and the other person is trying to blackmail. How do you ensure that you get justice in that whole process? Those things are largely related to young people and all other emerging issues. So how do you use our support, to address those challenges? The AI model could give you like the couple of steps to get started, and even also let you know that, okay, these are platforms that could help you take down. If your nude is posted, you could take it down immediately so that the person they are unable to post such thing and blackmail you. Those are emerging issues that we are tackling for that demography of people. But beyond that also is the area that immigrant also that have got, so maybe someone that came from West Africa has got language barrier coming into that country. So how can this help with that challenge? So the AI model, especially when it intersects with the injustice they're facing, that it's also helping with that. Beyond that also, we are also helping with the research to understand some of the pain points the migrant community are facing, and using that to also further train our model. So sometimes when you talk to people, there are some deep issues. So some might face family issues that because they've moved away from their community to a new community, there's a lot of pressure on their family is causing conflict in the family? How do you address this issue? And sometimes people might not really trust the system. They're just new in the system. They don't really trust the system. So they really want to okay, let me understand it a little bit more. Let me research about it. And that's where the AI model comes in. Okay, these are my rights in this new system. These are things that I need, are my obligations in the system. So it gets you to understand. So for example, in Africa, people, household kind of have small scale poultry sections, they rear things and they keep it for eating. But you can't really do that in Europe because there's a process about that. So I had to ask the AI, what are the legal consequences? I'm coming from a different cultural background. And the AI was able to tell me, these are the legal consequences. And this is what you need to do if you want to go about this. These are the license you need to obtain. So it helped me to avoid violating the law of the new country that I've gotten into. So, with that, you are able to be more compliant with the country. Because sometimes unconsciously, you might do things that you never wanted to do. That's on user base. Also businesses. If you want to set up business, what are the initial things that you need to be aware of? What are the things that you need to be conscious of? There's a growing issues around privacy, even in AI now. How do you need to ensure that you are compliant? What are the things that you need to take note of in setting up your business and running your businesses? Those are things that we are also looking at, using the AI to support. And like I said, it's not going to remove the lawyers in there. You can get to know this. But of course, navigating that legal landscape, you still need the guidance of a lawyer to navigate it. But you are better armed with the questions you're going to ask the lawyers, with how you're going to go about it, rather with the AI than not having the AI. Yeah.
This is great. Actually, I think what is really interesting, and I haven't thought of it, is that access to justice is not only when harm has been done, right? So it's not only when something bad happened and I want to somehow, I need some support, or maybe I did something wrong and I want to be properly represented, etc. But it can access to justice is also understanding the local justice system.
Yeah.
I think the poultry example is wonderful because, I could do things that are, I just don't do them here, but how could I have known? So I think it's a very good example also why you want migrant people to have access to it, because you don't want them to make those mistakes, because if they do, it's they feel bad, you feel bad, you have a problem, right?
And sometimes migrants, you're getting into a new country, it's really difficult it takes a while before you get to know some of the rules and things within that system. But imagine you've got a tool that you could just voice prompts. And, hey, hello, produce AI, I want to know this and this and this. And it gives you instant information about that thing. It's a brilliant way to ensure that you stay safe regarding the law, you don't violate the laws, and you can also use the law to your advantage when you need to. So you also even know the opportunities that you can access in that country and how to add value to that country that you now stay in. So there are many potentials through which you could enable access to justice and help people contribute to the local citizens and also help migrants in that system. So it's more or less like there's an interconnection and ecosystem, because if a migrant is compliant in the country, that means a local feels more comfortable relating with that person. So you don't see that, oh, okay, this person is acting weirdly, so I don't really want to engage. But the person already understands these are the pinpoints, these are the laws, these are the do's and don'ts. And so it's easier for everybody to live in cohesion.
Absolutely. And I think it's also important to understand, I don't know if it's just me, but when I was preparing for our conversation, I felt like again, the whole legal system is when things go bad, right? So when something goes bad, you need the legal system, which is not true, because you can also leverage the legal system to contribute in a positive way. And I think that's what you're saying. It's something completely, at least to me, it's an now that you're saying it, I'm almost angry at myself not having thought of it. But I think it's a very important point.
Yeah. So, for example, in my home country, there is a way we use the legal system to hold the government accountable to people and to even know what is the policy direction of the country. So the country wants to achieve net zero, maybe in the next 10, 15 years. Okay, so how do I structure my business to align with the government's direction or the flow of the economy so that I can better contribute, add value to that particular value chain I'm working with. So, working against the tide, but now you're flowing with the tide.
This is brilliant. And I think it's really important. So my initial question should not be, why should I care if people with migration background have access to justice? I think the question is, how should we make sure that everyone understands that the legal system is actually a launchpad for beautiful things you can do if you really understand it? So tell me, I think we kind of know what you're doing. Obviously, in the description of the podcast, you will find links to the organization. I hope we can somehow access the AI, wise AI, to get to know a bit about at least the UK legal system. So could you tell me, what are the things that, let's say someone is listening to us. Well, obviously, I guess people think, oh, I want to test that AI. I suppose if there are people from other countries than UK or Nigeria, they might think, oh, I want this in my country. Yeah. That's what I think. But what are the things that each one of us could do to make sure that this, access to legal solutions is more equitable? Is there something that each one of us can do, simple stuff, to make sure that this is happening? Because obviously, I think you've explained beautifully, we need that.
Yeah, thank you. So I think the easiest step is to tell a friend or help a migrant friend out that might not really know. Many people go through different challenges. Just letting them know about this is the first step. If you want to go an extra mile, you could tweet about it. Those are just simple ways to put that out. But if you are also well positioned, how do you use the policy you put out in your company, in your organization to favor? Then also, if you are like an head of an organization or a department, how can you introduce as part of our diversity and inclusion, we could put this AI in our system so that it would help our migrant employees better to navigate the system they just came into. So those are just simple steps that you could get started with. Right.
So one thing is just look around and see if there is someone who might need help and support. Yeah. This is very funny because many of those podcasts actually end up with this recommendation. So I think maybe the listeners and viewers will finally understand that that's one of the simplest ways. But also, maybe you want to use this good technology to support your employees or members of your organization.
Or your community, or if you've got a congregation or different communities that you belong to.
Could be also for local government.
Right? Yeah, it could also be for local government. And to be exact, even beyond migrants, locals can use it. I know I was having a conversation recently and we're saying, okay, how can locals use it to help maybe you're trying to access a permit or apply for a permit. And how can you use it to apply for your permit? Because it could draft the legal document for you. You could get started with that. So you want to have a permit to maybe put something on the streets. I know in the UK, if you're selling maybe groceries or something you want to put on this, you need to apply to the local council to give you a permit to put your truck on the street to sell or something like that. So you could get started with that even as a local person. Those are ways you could use it. So it's not just for the migrants. The locals as well could use it to navigate the legal complexity, because an average legal structure is complex. But this helps you to simplify it.
This is really brilliant. I'm actually, I think what is another thing that is really interesting, if you're interested, we had another podcast with Miroslava Kerik, which was also about why should we care about the well-being of people with migration experience. And I think we came to a similar conclusion, which is, it's not about taking care of people with migration background, because if you take care of them, you actually create solutions that work for all of us. Yeah. So it's, I think this is very, very important. And if you feel like watching or listening to the podcast, I strongly recommend this. Nelson, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to have you. So this was Why Should I Even Care podcast by Ashoka. My name is Agata Stafi-Bartosik, and this podcast is produced by Ania Ślusarenko, and it's going to be edited by Lucjan Lucimiński. Every episode of our podcast is fact-checked, so please do check in the podcast description, because maybe we've made some mistakes, and then they will be corrected, or maybe we didn't, but you want to read the materials and the reports where our data comes from. So that's it. And now I'm sorry, I cannot be here anymore. I need to play with that AI. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.